Hey guys, welcome back to Snark and Spark. This is me, I am Emily, and this is my channel. And today we're going to talk about cross-stitch stuff, what's going on in Magical Stitches, what's going on in Daily 30, show you some of the progress I've made on my Harry Potter piece, talk about books. Yeah, just kind of catch up. I did a homework video last week, but it was really quick because it was late and I wanted to put it up and get it out there because there was a lot of questions going on about it. But this time I have a little bit more time. I'm still going to try and get this up tonight. It is Monday. We're going to talk just a little bit because we had this false spring here in the Midwest and it sucks. We had almost about a week of like nice spring weather. Upper 60s, not really that windy, kind of cloudy, but it was nice. And then it snowed today. It got really cold over the weekend, and then we got up this morning and it was like raining, but as the temperature dropped, it then turned to like ice and sleet. So it's really stupid, and now there's snow again. But it is spring break here where we are, so the kids, we wouldn't have to worry about that. Didn't have to worry about like getting the little one to school today or early dismissal or anything like that, which is nice. And he's not here. He is with his grandparents this week. They wanted him for spring break, and we said okay. And it's really nice to have that time, this break, for us as well. It's like his dad and I kind of get a spring break too, but at the same time, you don't realize how much of your life revolves around keeping the small human or humans alive until that responsibility is suddenly gone. And so don't get me wrong, like it's great to have this break, and it's so nice to have this time to myself and for my husband and I. We actually we did an at-home date night without being interrupted by our child, and spent some quality time together talking and laughing and having a really good time. And we're going to do that again this week because we can. So we are taking advantage of it, but it is also a very weird feeling because I am sitting here going, I'm forgetting something. Like, what am I forgetting? Like, there is that constant feeling of something has to be done, or something needs to be done, or something's happened. Like, there's a mess to be cleaned, or there's a child who has injured themselves, or a dog is barking, like something. And just, yeah, how much of my life is so completely engrossed in just keeping him fed and clothed and alive. So it's a little weird. It's a little weird to be sitting here on a Monday afternoon. One, I would be picking him up from school normally at this time, but two, just in general, like I'm sitting in this quiet house and no one is going to interrupt me. I'm not going to have to pause unless the dogs bark, I don't have to necessarily make dinner right away kind of thing. Yeah, it's just kind of a odd but nice little reprieve. I changed my hair. Again, get that one out of the bag as well. It is this fun, like, minty sea foamy green. Yeah. Why not? I wanted to change it up, and it was fun. So I think that's really all that's going on in my life right now that I have to updateies. Well, I guess, I don't know. I feel I want to share it here, but it's such a weird thing because we haven't shared it like anywhere else, but besides like close friends here, there is a really good possibility that my husband will be promoted soon, and that's really exciting. It hasn't happened yet, but there's a really good likelihood that he's going to get promoted, and that's exciting and scary and all kinds of stuff wrapped in because we would have to move again. And I know that would be hard, but it would also be so good for us as well. And he would be home more. So, like, pros and cons. Like, yeah, we'd have to move out of this house we just bought and stuff like that, and give up our friends and everything that we've made here. And it would also mean that we wouldn't necessarily have to move again after this. We could actually make plans to settle more officially, and he would be home. Like, if any of you work in retail or have ever worked in retail or have a spouse or significant other or friend who works in retail, you definitely understand the trials that go along with that. He works about 44 hours a week, which doesn't sound like much, but he works every single weekend. He works Saturdays and Sundays. His days off are during the week, and on a day like today where it's Monday, he won't be home until after 8 p.m. So that's hard. I mean, not every single day is like that, but when you are raising a young child and one of your partners has a really long hours like that, it can be difficult, and it can be incredibly draining on me. He is a brilliant father, don't get me wrong. Like, this is not bashing him. He makes up for it in so many other ways. Just because he has long hours on a couple days of the week doesn't mean he's not a good dad. He's a fantastic dad. It just means that my son and I spend a lot of time together, just me and him. But when we do have... Oh, I'm so sorry. My phone went off. But when we do have all of us together, obviously family time is very important to us. So that possibility that or not possibility, but that thought that he would then have more time at home, he would actually get like a weekend off and have like a Sunday, like every Sunday he would actually be home, which is crazy to think about and exciting to think about. But our entire relationship has been like this. So it would change a lot for all of us, where suddenly I'd be like, why are you home? Like, I'm definitely not used to being home during my downtime, during my days off. Like, we share some time off together. We have certain days of the week, like, our time off overlaps by a few hours, but we haven't had like a day off together outside of like a planned vacation our entire relationship, basically. So it'll be really interesting to see what that's like to suddenly then have no, I take it back. We did for a while before COVID, like way pre-COVID, so I don't even remember at this point what it was like when he and I both had Thursdays off. And that was really nice. I think we did a lot of lunch dates during that time because we actually then we could go out to lunch with each other. But anyways, yeah, so it's just going to be interesting suddenly if this happens. This is a huge if. Nothing has been determined, so maybe I'm putting way too much emphasis on there, but it's on my mind, obviously. This is a lot to take in and a lot to think about. So it's going on up there. It's whirring around in my head, but anyways, that's not why you guys are here. You're here to talk about cross stitch. I'm here to talk about cross stitch. So we had some updates, and I want to share those and go over those in case you haven't seen them yet. Camp counselor Harriet, the wonderful, beautiful, sweet, amazing Harriet, posted an update about how our battles are going, and I do want to do that, give you guys that in case. I know for me personally, I read it, but that's a lot of numbers in like a really short amount of time, and it kind of went it went a little wibbly wobbly in my brain. So I thought I would just kind of share it here a little bit slower, and that way if you didn't want to read it or you couldn't read it or it just didn't make sense to you, whatever, or maybe I'm just repeating and I'm being annoying, but I'm going to say it. So we we have an update. And so we've got, so us, Team Demigods, hello, what's up, guys? We completed a total of 850,000 stitches. So like, just pause there. Like, what? That's so many stitches. I am so impressed, not just with my team, but by all of the teams. Everyone did such a great job, and it's so exciting to see, even if we're working against each other, like the other teams, like against the Team Gods and Team Titans, it's so cool to see all of us come together for our individual teams and our groups and just like band together. So this is awesome, and I am so proud of you guys. I feel like I can't take any credit because I've been a hot mess lately. But yeah, so we did that. We did take some damage. We took 104,250 stitches in damage, which really, I feel like that's a drop in the bucket. And then we gained 55,000 stitches in healing. So that's about half of what we actually hit with damage. So, I mean, I think we're doing all right. Team Titans completed 999,000 stitches. Again, so impressive. Way to go, guys. Took 124,500 stitches in damage, so they did take more than we did, and gained 52,000 stitches in healing. So they gained more damage and did not get as much healing, which is, sorry, but I'm also like, Team Demigods. You know what I mean. And then last but not least, we have Team Gods, and they did a total of, I'm like blown away by this number, 1,100,000 stitches. Excuse my language, but are you shitting me right now? Like, that is crazy amounts of stitches, but just round of applause. I blown away. You guys, all of you just amaze me. Just the skill that so many of us have, and the level of dedication, and just the level of difficulty of certain projects that we undertake. Like, you guys are you're crazy, but you're awesome. They took 110,750 stitches in damage and gained 75,000 stitches in healing. So this is crazy, but it just kind of goes to show that the bonuses, the both types of monthly challenges are incredibly important to our well-beings, because yeah, for attacking monsters we gain weapons and health and stuff, which is awesome and fantastic. And if we're reading and listening to audiobooks, we are gaining just bonus stitches in general that's going to help towards that overall total, which will help us in the long run as well. So both are very important. And I don't want anyone to feel like one is more important than the other, especially if you can't divide your time, quote unquote, like fairly or equally across. Like, if you have to choose, that's fine. Choose what works for you, and no one's going to bother you for that. Everyone's going to understand. It's really hard for me to work on the stitching extra credit. I'm really good about doing the homework. Like I said, though, February, I wasn't very good about doing the homework. Things are a little bit better here in March. But I do put a lot of my focus and my attention on the weekly homework prompts versus the monthly stitching prompts. But I also do a really good job with doing the reading, because I do enjoy reading. I would hope so. I work for the library. I say this I find a way to say this like every episode. But I love books and I love to read. And so I definitely focus on that side of it. And that's okay. You stitch as you stitch, and you do what you do because it's what you can do and it's what makes you happy. And that's all we can ask for. The whole thing is this is supposed to be for fun and not become a burden or make you lose your stitchy bug. This is just for fun. So I'm excited that you guys are all here with me, though. So moving forward, let's do the homework for Magical Stitches really quick. We are on week 3, which is so weird to think about. This week is called Island Rescue. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, I have not started the book yet. I have it. It's sitting right here next to me. I just have not started it. But we'll talk about books. I think I've been actually really behind in my reading for this month. No, I know I've been really behind. We're 2 weeks into March, and I've finished one book. That's awful. For me, that's awful. I don't hold anyone else to my standards. Just me. So, here we are. We've got a brand new week island rescue. Hello, campers. I hope you've been enjoying the activities that Camp Director Vicky has been giving you in my absence. Some outside camp nonsense took over my life for a while, and I haven't been as present for camp as I would have liked. That being said, I am happy to be able to fulfill my task of giving/writing up duties once again. I feel like I've missed so much. Chiron fired? Quests being given? Campers running off on their own quests? A Cyclops being claimed as a son by Poseidon? And our truant campers even managed somehow to blow up 2 boats. This week's activities both require 500 stitches to be done on a whip that fits the prompt best. Normal penalty stitches apply. If you don't have a whip that fits the prompts, you will need to do 500 stitches per prompt on your oldest whip. Sammy, Vicky, and I, meaning Harriet, not actually me, have been ecstatic to see all the progress everyone is making on their oldest whips. We've even had a few campers finish them. Another round of applause for everyone who has finished their oldest whip. I am not among you. I probably should work on it. As always, make sure you have a starting and ending photo, a stitch count. The stitch count is really important. We'll talk about that. A cover photo of the whip and an explanation for how that whip fits. You need to have that cover photo so we can make sure that you are showing us the item that you are claiming is in there. Make sure you have that explanation. But exact stitch count is incredibly important for this because they are literally doing every single stitch counts. Now, I have a feeling that something is kind of wonky. I don't know anything. Just because I am a camp leader does not mean that I have any special advanced knowledge, because I promise I don't. And even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. But I have a feeling, this is my own personal suspicions, that the final stitch count is going to be some stinky, sticky, odd number that is very, very exact and particular. And I think that is why they are being so on it about exact stitch counts. So even if it's 102, write 102. Don't just round down. Don't say it was 100. They mentioned don't say it was like, don't do 200 plus. No, write exactly how many you did. Be simple, be helpful. I have shared before my method, my personal method. I like to use physical tally counters. I have them in multiple colors. They go up to 9,999 before they start over, which makes sense. I think this came in like a set of 6. These 2 are currently not in use, which is fantastic. I love those. I've explained in like my first stitch with me. I love those because I am a very tactile person. I like having that physical object there. Plus, I can color code them to each project, so then I have an associated color and a counter. Plus, it's just incredibly satisfying to me to go click, 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 and press those buttons. There are digital apps that you can use if you would prefer to do that. There are things called like Counter or Counter Plus. I used to have one and I got rid of it because I was not using it on my phone. I don't remember what it was, but it just says like counter, and it's exactly that. So if you don't want something physical or you don't like the sound of things that are physical, use a digital app. I also bought these recently. You can see I have not actually yet opened them. Sorry for all the crinkles. Now, these are also tally counters. Oh, come on. Close enough. So these babies, though, because they're adorable, if I can get it. Oh gosh, here we go. So these are finger tally counters. And you attach them to your finger. Of course, I've done this, but when I'm trying to do it on camera, it doesn't work. And that's okay. But basically, you, there we go, gosh. I just needed to stop talking and concentrate. Isn't that how that always is, though? So they wrap around your finger. They've got like a little silicone band with like those little knobs, and so it's adjustable. But you put it on whatever hand you want. It is versatile. You can do, I'm left-handed, so I just stuck it on my left hand. More than likely, though, I don't know. I will have to practice with it. I haven't actually used these yet. But it turned on, and it's just this big button here. And I just tap it, and it's counting my things for me. And it's digital. The smaller button next to it is just the reset button, and it completely wiped it back out to 0. So I don't know if I would wear it on my left hand, but I like that it's right here. I mean, you could easily put it on a different finger, turn it more towards your palm if you wanted. But there's nothing... It would also make sense for me to do it on this hand since I'm not right dominated. I think it would just really depend on how I'm stitching. But it's really lightweight. It doesn't like jiggle around. Like I can move it, but if it's just on my finger. So I do like these. I bought them because I liked them, and they are comfortable. They don't feel, sometimes those bands can feel like sticky. It does not feel sticky. And this was Fico finger counter. It just came in a pack of 7. I bought it off Amazon, if you're interested. So lots of options to keep track of your stitches because it is important, so please do that. Now, on to the actual task. Dun, 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 dun. Activity 1. These, okay, and I like that they put a note because there was confusion last week. It does say both the prompts this week can be openly interpreted, though we will need an explanation on how your whip and stitches fit the prompt because of this. So last week, while we were looking for things that were very specific, we were looking for a boat or a horse or a fish. And we were looking for very specific items. This week, we're kind of back to the usual where we're open to interpretation. So activity number 1, stitch 500 stitches on a whip that contains something that could be used as a cauldron. So this is where the creativity comes in, because it doesn't have to be a cauldron. Now, I am working on my Harry Potter piece, and where I'm at right now, that's a cauldron. So that works for me. But if you think in broad terms of what a cauldron is, it's basically a big cooking pot or a giant vessel that is used to heat up something. So you could do pots and pans, you could do just giant round bowls, but you do have to be able to show that it could be hot. Don't think they use cold cauldrons for much. It just says something that could be used as a cauldron. So be creative. I would also think of things that could be hollowed out. That would then have a center opening that you could put things in. Activity number 2, stitch 500 stitches on a whip that has a place or setting where you could hold a picnic. So this, that could be anything, really. You could have a picnic outside, you could have a picnic inside, you could have a picnic in the forest, on the beach, on a lake, in a library. Maybe not. Like, we don't allow outside food in the library, but you get what I mean. It's very open-ended because pretty much anywhere you could think to have a picnic is possible. Think of little kids and they're doing like pretend tea parties. You could have a tea party outside in the garden. You could have it upstairs in your playroom. Like, a picnic is a picnic. A picnic is not a picnic because of its setting or location. A picnic is a picnic. I also just really like saying picnic. It's a fun word. picnic. Anyways, so this is exact stitch count means exact. Please don't put 200 plus stitches when you've clearly done around 400 stitches. Every stitch counts, and if you don't finish an activity, even partial credit is awarded, which is fantastic because I don't always finish my activities, but I still will say how many stitches I did accomplish. I am known, and Vicky finds it funny, I will do ridiculous amounts of math to say specifically how much of an activity I finished. Like, I will include decimal points if it's not an even number. And it always makes Vicky laugh because I will be like, I am 76.24% complete. And I do that because I can and because it entertains me, but also because I know it brings a smile to her face, and it is the least I can do. So that is all I've got for magical stitches. Sorry guys, this episode is not going to be under half an hour. Here we go. We are now in Daily 30. Daily 30 is a closed group, and so is Magical Stitches currently. I am so sorry. I should have started off that. Both of these groups are closed. They are not currently open. Sorry. In Daily 30, it is Car Forest Week. Don't know what that is. Let's find out. The International Car Forest of the Last Church in Goldfield, Nevada is an art display that edges on the surreal. It's an insane project that began in 2002 that attracts hundreds of curious tourists each year. Let's see what this is all about. Okay? Number 1. I always feel like I always do this. So we've got either 300 stitches or 3 hours or 400 stitches or 4 hours this week. 1. The site's creators, Michael, Mark Rippey, and Chad Sorg, came up with the International Car Forest of the Last Church as representation of the last church being inside each of us, meaning that we should pass knowledge to each other from one heart to another about 2 things, unconditional love and compassion. Stitch on a whip with something related to love or compassion in the design. I think that's pretty self-forward. You can pretty much anything February, anything with hearts, anything with the word love in it. That's compassion is also great because that's just kindness. Like, think of really generous, kind acts. 2, from the highway, you can only see a big white and turquoise school bus that points upward at a 45-degree angle. It's positioned to reflect sunlight toward the highway as if to attract curious passersby. Put stitches into a whip that has something in the design that could reflect sunlight. Water, mirrors, glass, eyes can reflect. I mean, well, that's my glasses, but don't overthink is my advice. 3, 40 old trucks, cars, and buses are placed at strange angles, all of them beaten, burned, or decorated. From a distance, they shimmer like a Mojave Desert mirage. Stitch on a piece that has something in the design that you might see in a mirage. So, I hate when I explain some of these things because I'm never wanting to assume anyone's level of intelligence or, conversely, anyone's level of ignorance. Because those are 2 separate things. So I don't ever want to assume that I know something that other people don't know, but I also don't want to make the assumption that you know what I'm talking about when you don't. So there's always this fine line as someone who does this kind of videos where I'm interpreting things and explaining things because I don't want to insult anyone. And it's kind of this is like a weird tangent that was just popped up in my head, but I wanted to share because I was about to be like, let me just tell you what a mirage is. But then I realized there's a really good chance that most of you know what a mirage is, and I don't want to assume ignorance on your part because that shows my ignorance. So yeah, there's just stuff. But I'm thinking anything that would be wonderful to see. Like, sure, if you're dehydrated and you're stumbling around in the desert, in a desert, I don't know where that came from, in a desert, I'm immediately thinking water, shade, trees, possibly even food. But if it's just a mirage in general, like you're seeing something that's not there, but you desperately wish was there, that is like of a paradise. See, I'm thinking of ways you could change it. You could manipulate it and make it your own, of like, I'm viewing a mirage as it's showing me something that doesn't truly exist, but it is what I would consider a paradise. And so I could say, book lover's bookshelf, because I adore books, and it would be wonderful to just see this beautiful, brilliant library pop out of nowhere. Yeah. Beds, hammocks, chairs. Probably anything relaxing, though, would probably be good items for mirages. 4. Some vehicles are face down as though they fell from the sky, while others shoot toward the clouds as if escaping from the planet. Stitch on a piece that has something in the design that either falls or ascends. Planes, balloons, stars, things that rise. Things. I mean, that could be anything. Balloons and planes, which I've already said, but there's a lot of things that fall. Basically, everything falls because of gravity. Just saying. But snow and stars fall, and my hopes and dreams. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Rain. I mean, a lot of stuff. I'm looking at my piece right now because it has steam in it. And I just stitched the steam, and obviously steam ascends, it rises. So there's that. Number 5. The junk car forest is much more than just a graveyard for abandoned vehicles. It's a venue for people who relish the aesthetic of colorful, abused steel against a backdrop, if I can speak, of colorless desert. Put stitches into a whip with a graveyard. Okay, there's no wiggle room with that one. Sorry, you need a graveyard. I don't have anything with a graveyard. It should. You would think I would. I do like spooky patterns. Like, Halloween is my favorite holiday. So you would think I would have more like spooky things, but I don't. I should fix that. This is completely unrelated, but speaking of Halloween, I love Halloween at Hawkrun Hollow. I do not own it, but I love it. And I think one day I would like to own it, and I would like to stitch it. But anyways. And then, of course, we have the 30 for 5 days, 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week. I will be starting that pretty much once I finish recording and start uploading this. It's an easy thing to work on when I'm, like, editing and waiting for these videos to upload, because I'm waiting for them to upload. So what else am I doing? Ta-da! I'm going to leave it. No, I'm not going to leave it there. I was about to sign off. No, I'm not. That's where we are with homework, so I am going to leave the homework there. But I wanted to show a closer up of my whips and talk about my books real quick. So this is where I'm at with Letters from Hogwarts. I love it. Look at this cauldron. Look at that cauldron. I also really like, so in what we're doing, it is supposed to be that in the cauldron is the love potion. And so it smells different for each person. So it's supposed to be your favorite smells. Your favorite smells. I don't know why I was stuck over that. So I actually asked my sister, and the designer is really, really clever. He creates what he called drop-in elements. So the cauldron, is a normal part. The background, there will eventually be curtains that I will put in. Even the steam is all charted in, but then he gave 3 different spots within the steam, marked by little anchor points in the graph, of where you could then drop in your own symbols. And he gave charted examples of commonly held favorite scents. So there was an example of bread, books, fire, flowers, babies, and stuff like that. And so I texted my sister and was like, hey, what are your top 3 favorite smells? Didn't give her any context. I was just like, what are your top 3 favorite smells? And luckily she just answers and doesn't ask why. She was like, blood orange, freesia, and honeysuckle. So I was like, okay. Obviously he didn't chart for everything, but he did chart a peach And I'm like, that's close to a blood orange. So I made the peach. I stitched the peach up here. I should also say, I have not done any of the back stitching yet, so it might not be clear to see. And then once I actually put the back stitching in, they'll stand out more because the drop-in elements are the ones that get back stitched, not everything else. So they'll definitely pop. But there's the peach. And then this is just a flower blossom. You can kind of see that I miscounted somewhere on that, and that's okay, because she will never know. And then this, he actually called it lilac, but I chose this for the honeysuckle because honeysuckle also does kind of grow in those like clumps. But I think it turned out really wonderful. I like the variegated floss. He specifically notes that we use it's the DMC variegated 4010, but to use the loop start method, so that way, basically, or I guess you could use any method you really like to start it. It's just that the threads shouldn't line up. He has intentionally charted it so that the colors are mismatched, and I actually really like the effect it produced for like the steam. It is very whimsical. It goes from like the blue to gray, and there's white in it. To me, it gives it a very magical, potion-y look. So I am all for it. That's all I have really. I am so close to finishing Praise Him with Strings. So I don't want to go grab it and pull it out. But basically, all that's left is the back stitching on the guitar. I have to do the strings. And I could be incredibly lazy and just do like one long strand kind of thing. But they do have pets and a cat that is rather handsy or pawsy or clawsy. And I just worry that depending on where they would put it, that he would get a hold of it. And it wouldn't take much to rip those out. So I don't want to do that, but I also don't want to do every single stitch. So yeah, it's taking me just a little bit of time because I'm trying to figure out how to make it look the way I want it to look, of like guitar strings, without it being too loose or too tight. So I'm working on it, but it's so close to being done. I just need to actually sit down and do it. Booksies. So here is the Sea of Monsters. I have it. I just have not started it. I've got my bookmark on page 1. So, yeah, I need to. And so then for the manga prompt, I chose this one. It's Food Wars. I can't say this. I'm going to say it wrong, but I'm going to try. Shokugeki no Soma. I'm sorry. But it is Food Wars. This is the first of that series. I'm going to have to take this to work and fix it. But I haven't started that, but I went and looked in our like adult graphic novel section at work and just looked to see if anything grabbed my eye. I really didn't want anything. I didn't really want anything that was like fighting or, I don't know, monsters or, I don't know, it was incredibly out there. I wanted something that I would actually read. And there was one that was like, daughter, these two friends like detective agency, and I almost went with that, but then I saw that this one was called Food Wars, and I liked the premise of it, that it's, this is a son. This guy's dad owns a restaurant, and he wants to one day be just as good, if not better, than his dad. And so he goes to, his dad enrolls him in culinary school, and it's him trying to get through culinary school. And I was like, you know what, that I can do. So I'm going to give it a try. I will probably sit down and start this one tonight, because I have a feeling if I can actually start this, I will finish it in no time. It's just actually sitting down and making myself read this, because I've never actually read a manga before. So this will be new for me. And I know it's going to take me a little bit of time because you don't read it. This is how I would read it. This is how you read it. You read it from right to left. So it's going to take me just a little bit to kind of figure that out. But I think once I get into it, I will finish it in a day or two. So I will start that tonight and see how far I get. I finished 21 Truths About Love by Matthew Dix. And honestly, I cannot say enough good things about it. That book was phenomenal. 5 stars, top of my list. Absolutely fantastic. I shared it is told in list fashion. The main character, his name is Dan. He makes lists, and he keeps lists of everything from the random thoughts in his head to, his monthly finances. And the whole book is basically just his internal monologue in list forms. And it is fantastic. I laughed. This book made me chuckle and laugh so many times. It is genuinely funny, but it also pulled at my heartstrings. I really thought one thing was happening, and then it kind of threw a curveball, and I was not prepared for it, and I was like, oh, okay. And the story just kept evolving, and I was into that. I loved that I didn't really know what this story was gonna be. Like, where was this story going? But it evolved, and it changed, and it was very 3D, and I don't know if that makes sense to anyone but my brain, but it was tangible and real and relatable, and I laughed and I even cried at the end, but it was like a good cry. I found the ending to be so satisfactory, and I love a good satisfying ending. But please go check this book out. I made my husband sit down and read part of it. I sent it to my best friends. I was like, you're gonna have to read this. I'm telling all of you to go read it. It is 21 Truths About Love by Matthew Dix. And as in, I am such a fan of this book. I know for a fact. So every year for Christmas, my sister and I, instead of playing the guessing game of what to get each other for Christmas, we do books. We pick our top 3 books that we read the previous year and give them to each other. So 2020, I picked my top 3 favorite books of 2020, and I gifted them to her for Christmas, and she did the same thing for me. I can already tell you that 21 Truths About Love will be one of the books I buy her this year. I loved it. I loved it, and I will probably go buy myself a copy because it was that good. Like, please someone go read it so that we can talk about it. It's really hard being, like, the only avid reader in a house. Like, my boys read. Like, don't get me wrong, Caden reads, but he's also an 8-year-old. So he doesn't exactly read what I read. And my husband, he likes audiobooks. He is not I will sit down with a book kind of guy, but he is a nonfiction person. So, again, I will read nonfiction, but we don't necessarily want to read the same kinds of we have very different tastes. So, someone read it. I will talk with you about it forever. I loved it. What else? We haven't really done anything. My husband and I want to watch the new Justin Timberlake movie. That's, I think, an Apple TV exclusive. It's called Palmer. It looks so good. We were gonna watch it this weekend, and then the book made me cry, and then I didn't feel like crying a second time, so we didn't watch it. But it looks fantastic. It's still on our radar to watch. And then we did start a show called The One on Netflix, and I think it takes place in the future. It's not really clear. But the premise is that this lady has started a company that is a matchmaking company, but they find your match based off of your genetics. So you give them a sample of your DNA, they run tests, and then supposedly they match you with your soulmate. Like the person you are genetically predisposed to fall in love with. It's kind of a heavy topic, but we watched the first episode last night, and it's good. I'm pretty excited about it. So that's all I got for you right now. That's my recommendations. That's where I'm at. I had some Holly stuff, but I honestly don't want to go get it right now because I decided to go shopping one day last week when I was also child-free. And I went to Joann's and I bought things that I didn't need but I wanted. But I'm going to leave it there. I feel really good. I talked about cross-stitch, talked about books, talked about what I was watching. Oh, I wanted to also mention, because it was really funny, I played a game this past weekend. It is a 2-player game, and it is called Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. It was a lot of fun. Basically what you do, if you've never heard of this game, is one of you is the diffuser, and one of you is the expert. And if you are the diffuser, you can play it as a computer game or as like a virtual reality, a VR game, but it pulls up with a fake bomb, and you have to defuse this bomb within a certain time limit before it explodes. Now, the thing is, the expert is your buddy. They have the bomb defusal manual, and you have to work together, but you can't look at what each other is seeing. So I have a bomb pulled up on my computer screen. My friend, she had the manual pulled up on her computer screen. It also helps that we were remote, so it's not like here at home where I could just look at my husband's computer. So we had our webcams up. We were like video chatting. So she has the manual pulled up on her side. I have a bomb pulled up on my side. And I have to describe to her what I'm seeing, and then she has to tell me what to do. And it's everything from, okay, I'm looking at 5 wires, and she'll go, okay, are any of them red? And it's all contingency based. So if I'm like, there's no red, and the instructions, it'll be like, if there are exactly 1 red and 2 yellows, cut the 4th wire. Otherwise, go to like step 2. And so you just go down this list. And so she's trying to go, okay, and I'm trying to explain it to her, and it's a lot of fun. It can be really frustrating if you aren't into that kind of game where there is a time pressure, and I think we've been friends for a decade now, and we obviously know how we communicate, and we've played many a game together. So we had a lot of fun. We played for a couple hours, like Friday night, and check it out if you're interested, but it was just so fun. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share, and I'm done now. So I'm going to log off. I'm going to try and get this uploaded, and honestly, I also have a dozen cookies on my table from a local bakery, and I want a cookie, so I'm going to go do that. I will talk to you guys soon. I think this week, especially since I am child-free this week, I will definitely be doing a Stitch with Me this week, but I think I might also try and do a Plan with Me, because I do have my March Silk and Sonder planner. It is the Curiosity theme. I am loving this month's. I have not yet actually done my layout for this week, but I think I want to do that on camera and upload it. So we'll see. I don't know. There definitely will be a Stitch with Me, though, on Wednesday, because that is my day off, and there will be no one home to interrupt me. So, alright. I will talk to you guys later. Have fun. Enjoy doing all the things. Happy reading, happy watching, happy listening, happy stitching, happy doing whatever it is that makes you happy. I'll see you guys later. Be easy with your hearts.